Hey now people, Nick here. Today we're going to take a look at Wok Star from Game Salute and designers Tim Fowers and Tom Mason. This is actually the second edition of Wok Star. The original edition was out like 3 or 4 years ago, I think. It's been a while. They wanted to make a new edition with better components, maybe tweak the rules a little bit, so they put the game on Kickstarter earlier this year, or maybe the end of last year. And concurrently with that, they actually did the second game from Tim Fowers, which was Paperback, which was a phenomenal deck building game that came out earlier this year. Might make it onto my top 10 games of 2014 list. It's just that good. Wok Star is a completely different game than Paperback. Same art, but different theme, different gameplay. This is a purely cooperative game. Each player is one of the members of this family, I think it's the Wang family, who are trying to run a Chinese restaurant. You just started this restaurant, you took a big loan in order to get it started, and by the end of 4 rounds of play, which I think signifies 4 months, you have to have a certain amount of money in order to pay off your debt. The other catch of this game is that it takes place in real time. When it's your turn, you have a big timer that you have to press, and you have to fulfill an order in the restaurant. That's how you're going to get the money. You're going to try to fulfill these orders with all the different ingredients, make money, prepare the ingredients, give them to other people, work cooperatively together. It's just a big, crazy thing going on. So, very different from Paperback, but does it hold up to that same level of quality? Let's go ahead and take a look at how it plays, then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Okay, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of Wok Star, the second edition. This is a fully cooperative game for 2 to 4 players. The goal is to have a certain amount of money by the end of 4 rounds of play. And the theme of the game is that you are a family who is running a new Chinese restaurant. You have to pay off your loan in that time frame. So that's what the money represents, your ability to pay off that loan. The amount of money you need is dependent on the number of players. So for instance, in a 4-player game, you're going to need $80 by the end of round 4. Now the catch here is that in rounds 1 and 2, all of the money that you collect is going to carry over into the next round if you don't spend all of it. But at the end of round 3, all of your money is wiped away. That means that in round 4 by itself, you must acquire $80 in a 4-player game, which is easier said than done. So this is the board. You have a little round tracker here. You have the money track going around the edges of the board, which will constantly move up at the end of the round when you're counting up all the orders that you fulfilled for the restaurant. This is the main part, though. This is the ingredient track. So you have all of these little tokens representing ingredients. And right here, I'll stop and tell you that there was an error in production. So the other side of these, they actually have the ingredients painted on. And they look pretty good, but apparently some people were having some issues with how sort of muddy some of the colors looked. So the copies of the game will actually have a sticker sheet put in the box that you can use to put onto these tokens. Put them on the blank side is what I would do anyways, just to make it a little clearer as to what ingredient is which in the heat of the moment. And I say in the heat of the moment because you're going to be fulfilling orders and using the ingredients to fulfill orders up and down as the game progresses by using this timer. This is the main sort of, aside from the ingredient track, this is sort of the centerpiece of the game. This timer on the bottom here, I had to use tape to keep this lid on, or to keep the battery cover on. It can be set to 15, 20, or 30 seconds. They recommend you start with 30 for your first game. Whenever you want to start it, you just click that. And you can hear that there. Click it again to stop it, or you can actually just click it twice to reset it really quickly. So that is, you have all these dice here representing the different player colors. You have ingredients or recipe cards representing the different types of things you're trying to cook, like fried rice and lo mein and egg rolls. Preparation cards, which represent the different, how you're going to get ingredients in order to actually, during the course of the game, to actually make all these dishes when you run out of your starting ingredients. They all start off at 1. Table cards telling you which table that you yourself are in charge of. So you'll randomly dispense these at the beginning, and then that's what table you have to worry about personally. And then you also get a character card. Now these represent the different family members that you have the potential to be. So for instance, you have Lily Wang here, and Lily says they all have special abilities that you can use once per round. So Lily says once per round you may restart the timer. Chris Wang says you may make an extra $1 for each matching pair of recipes you serve in a round. And this is actually, I think, a promo character, Paige Turner, which was the main character of the game paperback from the designer of this game. It says, rewrite, once per round you may reroll the die rolled for anyone's event card. Now, event cards and orders, these make up the bulk of the deck. You're actually going to construct the deck at the start of each round with 5 randomly drawn event cards plus orders for the active recipes that you have. So at the beginning of the game, you have fried rice, lo mein, and egg rolls, but you may gain more recipes and therefore more types of order cards. The order cards are going to be yellowish looking cards like this. These are just a couple of examples. These actually are not the ones that we have out here now, but you have egg drop soup, which if you fulfill it gives you $2. This is going to be counted up at the end of the game. And the table number up here tells you who is going to be the next player that has to worry about serving a customer's order. So if I fulfill this order, this points to 4. That means the next, it's whoever has the table 4 card is going to be serving next. Here's another example, the Kung Pao, which is $4 because it's much more difficult to make, and this one points to table 1. So at the beginning, you have a deck of cards for fried rice, lo mein, and egg rolls of those customer order cards mixed up together with 5 event cards. Each player is going to start with 3 dice of their color, and at the start of each round, you may actually gain more dice. And whatever dice that you have, you're going to roll. Whatever number they end up with, that's what you have. And then the game is going to begin, starting with table 1. That player is going to draw the top card off of the deck, hit the timer, and begin. Now, when you have that card flipped over, you need to immediately make whatever that card says. Now, this is egg rolls, so I am going to look up my recipe card here for egg rolls. I need pork, bok choy, and egg wrapper, so I can just immediately move down pork, the egg wrapper, and the bok choy, and boom, I've completed the card. So now I'm going to put that next to my character card. That is a completed preparation. I'm immediately going to hit this twice to reset the timer, and then the egg roll tells me it's going to go to player 3 or table 3, so whoever has table 3 is going to flip over the next card, and then they have to worry about fulfilling that as well. So fried rice. So for fried rice, that player is going to look at the card, and they need onions, and they need egg. Boom, we still have that. Boom, we scored that. Double click that again, goes to the next player. This one goes to table 2. So that's egg rolls again. And this is how the game is going to be played. You're going to constantly frenetically passing this around and trying to fulfill these orders. Now, also mixed into the deck, I wasn't going to keep doing that too long until these didn't come up for a while, but you have these event cards. When you draw an event card, you need to immediately hit the timer and stop it and resolve whatever the event card tells you to do. Usually these are bad. So this one says scrape the barrel. All ingredients currently at 0 gain 1 each. Actually, this one's pretty good. But this one, let's look at equipment failure. Now, a lot of these, even if they're bad, will tell you to gain and roll a die of whatever your color is. But this one says if you roll that die and it's a 1 through 3, you downgrade one of your upgraded preparations, which is really bad. I'll explain that in a moment. Or on a 4 to 6, nothing happens. And then, just like with the order cards, it will tell you who's got to deal with the next card. Take a look at a few other ones. Here's the very questionable free meat card, which says that, which is good. You gain and roll a die, and then you may gain either 3 pork or 3, I can't remember what that ingredient is, but that's a good one, but it has a picture of a dog and cat. I'll let you make your own conclusions there. Teamwork says you choose another player to gain and roll a die. Big tip just gives you money depending on what you roll. So a lot of these are good, but then you have ones like the Restaurant Critic, which says that look at your preparations. If you have any dice on the first option, you lose $3. So that can be a bad thing, but let's go ahead and talk about those preparation cards, by the way. So preparation cards are how you're going to get more ingredients. Obviously, as you saw as we were playing, you're going to run out of ingredients. It's going to happen almost right away. If you're lucky, maybe it'll take 2 players' turns. But how you're going to do that is everyone's going to get dealt out these preparation cards, which correspond to the recipes that you have in play. So just so you're always at least going to have the ingredients that necessary that you have. So let's say that you added a recipe that needed shrimp, you'd also have the shrimp recipe ingredient marker in play as well. How this is going to work, this is what you're going to use your dice for. So if this happens, by the way, simultaneously. Anyone can make ingredients on anyone else's turn. So even if I'm table 1 and I'm drawing a card and having to resolve the order or the event card, someone else can give me ingredients immediately. So if I needed bok choy and someone else had this card, they can either put a die of any number here for a while to give me 1 ingredient immediately. So they'll actually physically put their die on the card. Or in the case of bok choy, they can specifically put down a 6 to get 2 of that ingredient. Or they can try to do something even more complicated to get 3 in this ingredient, which for bok choy is 2 even numbered dice. But for eggs, you also need 2 even. Let's think of a different example. Here we go. For pork, you need to have 2 dice that sum up to 9, and then you're going to get 3. Now, the trick here is that not only do you want help from your comrades, even if they don't have your particular preparation card, because you're going to run out of dice, but also at the end of each round, when you're adding up how much money you've earned, you get a bigger tip if you have more different colored dice on each of your cards. For every different color of dice you have on each of your preparation cards, you get an extra $1. So you want people to help you and give you their colored die in order to put onto your card. That's where a big part of the cooperation comes in. Now, the round is going to end when the deck of cards, that the event cards and the order cards runs out, for better or for worse. And by the way, if you are not able to successfully fulfill an order by the time the timer runs out, the card gets discarded into the discard pile, and at the end of the round, that's going to count as a negative $1 against you. And also, it's money that you weren't able to make for actually successfully fulfilling the order. But aside from that, every successful order that someone was able to complete, you're going to add up the money. So let's say that I completed 2 egg roll cards and a fried rice card. That means that I'm going to get $8. So we'll move our little blue marker up here on the track. Maybe we had 3 cards in the discard pile, so we lost $3. And then so on. Everyone's going to add up all their money. You'll add up all the tips that you have for every different colored die that you have, and you might end up, at a certain amount. And that amount is going to escalate as you get better and better throughout the course of the game. The way that you're going to get better is by upgrading your preparation cards and also potentially buying new recipes to put into the deck. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the deck of recipe cards at the end of the round. You're going to shuffle it up, and you're going to put out 3 potential recipes you have the option of buying. And you'll have the numbers up in the corner telling you how much they cost depending on the number of players. So for a 4-player game, the Mugu Gai Pan is going to cost you $18. Now, like I said, money is going to carry over from rounds 1 to 2 to 3, but at the end of round 3, you're going to lose all your money. So you're going to want to spend your money anyways. It's just how you're going to spend it. You can also, by the way, if you buy one of the recipe cards, and you don't have to, but if you do, the recipe will go out with the rest of your recipes, and then you're going to take the preparation cards for the ingredients that you don't already have, dispense those out to the players, either randomly or by whoever wants them. And you're also going to add all the order cards corresponding to that into the deck, although the number of event cards will stay the same from round to round. You also have the option of upgrading your preparation cards. It'll tell you up in the top corner, and it's different for each one how much it costs. So for bok choy and bamboo, it's $10. If you pay that money, you'll flip it over to its upgraded side, and you get more ingredients for doing the same things. So 2, 3, and 5 instead of 1, 2, and 3, which you're going to need to do if you want to keep up with the new recipes that you're getting and just trying to make as much money as possible by the end of the game. And that's really it. That is the game. You're just, no, I skipped over some things, but you're just trying to fulfill orders as quickly as possible with that timer consistently going against you. Upgrading as much as you can, because in the 4th round, you need to make as much money as possible. Hopefully at that point, you've got a lot of recipes, a lot of upgraded preparation cards, a lot of dice for each players, and you use your special powers wisely. That is Wok Star 2nd Edition. So I think you got to give it to Wok Star as far as the theme, because it's a very unique theme. And I play a ton of different new games every week, and I'm always throwing a new game down on the table. And while they are all different in their own way, a lot of them have themes that are very similar to each other, so that even if the details change, overall you get the same feeling from it. This week we're trading goods and trying to get the most money. Yeah, okay, of course we are. Or this week we're killing monsters in a dungeon and just trying to survive. Yeah, we've done that before. And then I drop down Wok Star and I'm like, okay, we are a family working at a Chinese restaurant and we're trying to get a lot of money by preparing dishes. And everyone's like, yeah, wait, what? Really? That's the feeling and that's the thoughts that I got from a lot of people that I played with. Everyone was kind of taken aback, and not always in a positive way. Some people were like, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, what are we doing here? And especially, it's a cooperative game too, so that's going to be even more polarizing. But most people that I played with were like, that is such a cool theme. I got to try that out. So I think Wok Star immediately has that going for it. Component-wise, everything looks really good. I mean, the timer, it is what it is. It looks really cool. I wish it was a little bit easier to manage, because it's going to be really tricky at first, because it's like, okay, hit it once, it starts. Hit it again, it stops, but then hit it twice to reset it. And in the heat, that sounds very, very simple, and it is, but in the heat of passing it around, it can get a little weird, and you definitely should just keep it in a central place, which is what we learned the hard way when you start playing the game. I mentioned in my overview about the tokens with the painted side, and then you have to put the stickers on, which I do recommend putting the stickers on the unpainted side at least. But really, it's not that big a deal. I think even the painted side still looks pretty good. And just, if you use the sticker side, they still look good too, no problem there. Everything else is really high quality. I like the art, the same art as paperback, I believe, so that all looks attractive. The graphic design is very simple, and which it needs to be, because you're frantically passing cards around and flipping cards over, and you've got 30 seconds or less on your turn, so everything needs to be straightforward, and I think that it really is. I will say, I don't necessarily feel this way, but I can understand why others would that played in the groups that I played this with. It's a little tiny bit maybe insensitive to Chinese people, just a tiny bit. I mean, the caricatures on the cards, and there's like at least one weird card, like the one that has free meats with a picture of a dog and cat on it, which is actually, I would say, more of a Korean thing, but a stereotype. But so I don't really feel that. I'm not really like uber sensitive to that kind of stuff. I mean, if something's really offensive, I'll call it out, but I don't think it's really the case here. But it's something to note that a couple of people that I played with were slightly offended by some of the stuff in this game. But I think it's all in good fun. I think if you take it as it's intended to be, just kind of a cartoony caricature of what a Chinese restaurant would be like, then it's not a big deal. But it's out there if you want to make a judgment call on that. But as far as the gameplay goes, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of real-time games. I'll say it right here. I didn't like Space Alert at all. I didn't like Escape the Curse of the Temple at all. I did like Zombie 15, and I liked it, I think, even though they're very different games, I liked it because of this, for the same reasons I like Wok Star, and I do really like Wok Star. I'll say that right now. And it's because even though you have a very limited amount of time, I felt like I was in control. When you first hit that timer and start the game and flip over the card, it can feel a little overwhelming. Like, what do I do? Oh, I don't have that much time. But even if you're playing with the lowest amount of time, the 15 seconds, you still know what to do. You still have enough time to make smart, efficient decisions, which is what you need to do to win this game. So it can feel frantic at times, but really it's like a controlled chaos. Like, once you get through that first round, and especially after you get through the second round, everyone is going to be acting very methodically, doing what they need to do. You still feel that pressure, you still feel that tenseness, but it's not overwhelming, and it's not just a big total mess like it is in some timed games, which is why I don't like those kind of games totally. But I think Wok Star avoids this pretty successfully too. And, you know, the first time that you play the game in the first round of the game, you're probably going to think, this is kind of dumb, right? Because really all I'm doing is flipping over a card and matching dice up. And even I certainly had that thought at first, but you really need to go through the whole game, or at least through the second round, to realize what's going on in the game and how clever it is. I play a lot of games where you get more powerful as you go through, especially in cooperative games. Like, oh, I found this awesome sword, and I'm going to really do a lot of damage now. But really, what did you do? You just found the sword. Maybe you killed a boss for it, but you didn't do anything clever or unique with it. In this game, you are getting stronger as you progress through the game, but it feels like you're actually earning that. It feels like you are progressing and getting better as a cook. You're surviving events that happen to the restaurant, usually bad, but a lot of them say, gain a die. So you gain a die, you roll it, something bad might happen, but guess what? You have that die now. So you're a little bit better than you were before. And then you get to the end of the round, you have a lot of money, you know that you're not going to be able to keep all that money at the end of the third round, so you got to do something with it. So you say, all right, what are we going to do with this money that we've earned in order to make our restaurant better? Do we go for new recipes to get more cards into the deck, more orders, so we have new stuff on our menu, which means more money, but now we need more ingredients. And now we need to have the capability to make more of the ingredients that we have potentially. So now you have to upgrade your cards, which is very expensive, but it is a very cool and efficient way to make yourself stronger. So you have to balance these different aspects. And at the same time, this was an interesting question that came up in every game that I played. Do we go for new recipes that utilize the ingredients we've already have and upgraded, or do we go and get new completely different recipes that have new preparation cards, because having more cards means that we have more things to do with our dice? But what if we don't have a lot of dice? I mean, not all of us have a ton of dice, so who gets this card? And how do we do this most efficiently? These are the kind of questions that pop up as you play the game, and it adds such a surprising amount of depth. No one's going to say that this game is super heavy. It's a light game. It's a family game is what I would probably categorize this as. But at the same time, there is some really cool decision making to be had. The game just, as I said before, it rewards hyper efficiency and passing dice around in the most cooperative manner possible. There is no hot dogging in this game whatsoever. You need to absolutely work together, and you will be rooting for each other, and you are going to try your best when it's not your turn, when someone else has flipped over the card, to stay laser focused on them and decide, what do you need? What's the best thing I can give you? Take this die. More money at the end of the round, and now you can get off the combo that's going to give you the most ingredients possible for that preparation. And using your character powers. By the way, love that. I really hate it when games don't individualize each person and give you a special power. And you'd be surprised how many games there are, even now, that don't utilize such a simple mechanic. But having those different powers does make you unique enough to make you feel like you have something special to contribute to the group. And then having the different preparation cards, even more so. But of course, if you end up with more than one preparation card, which is going to happen for some people, then the pressure is really on you to perform better. But remember that people are helping you constantly, even when it's not their turn, which is a very, very cool thing. So overall, I think this is a great game. It's unique theme. It's like nothing else in my collection. Nothing. And I am keeping it in my collection. And while like I said, I don't typically like real-time games, I think that this one works. I think it works in conjunction with the mechanics and the theme to provide a very unique experience. It's not going to be for everybody. I know there's a lot of other people that don't like real-time experiences. A lot of people are just going to think the theme, even though it's unique, is maybe not for them, that they want to be out there killing aliens and fantasy monsters. And it is very straightforward. There's not like there's multiple paths to victory. You just have multiple decisions along the same path, if that makes sense. It's very straightforward. You know what you need to do. You just need to be as efficient with it as possible. But I like that aspect of it. I like that little bit of a puzzle of here are the dice that we rolled. How do they go amongst all of us? And by the way, we have 15 to 30 seconds to think about it. It works together very, very well, and I would give this a very good recommendation. I wish it wasn't produced by Game Salute, but there you have it. But the designers, or at least one of the designers, I'm sorry I don't know much about Tom Mason, but Tim Fowers, this is the second game of his that has just knocked it out of the park. I'm eager to see what he comes up with next, because he clearly knows how to make a game that takes some mechanics that other games have already used, but uses them in such a unique and different way. So that is Wok Star from Game Salute. 2 thumbs up. My name is Nick. This has been Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.